All right, let's talk about time. You know how it often feels, right? Just this chaotic, frantic thing. Well, today, we're going to explore a completely new way to look at our relationship with it, a way to find a more natural rhythm by learning how to live just one day at a time.
And to do that, we're going to start with this really beautiful image from Kim Stanley Robinson's novel, Aurora. It's describing a character learning to swim in the ocean, discovering how you can dive under a wave, or crash through it, or even surf it. The point is, each wave is its own separate event, but together they form this soothing, predictable rhythm.
Okay, so a predictable, soothing rhythm sounds nice and peaceful, right? But does that sound anything like your daily life? Yeah, for most of us, probably not. Our experience of modern time feels less like these clean, rolling waves and a lot more like, well, a chaotic, churning seed.
And that contrast, that's really the heart of the problem. Nature gives us this predictable, wave-like flow. But our modern lives, they're defined by this completely irregular experience of time. You know the feeling, it just drags on during painful moments, and then boom, it accelerates like crazy when the pressure's on. There are no steady waves, just this constant, messy churn.
This quote just nails it, doesn't it? In place of steady waves, there's just a churning sea. That's exactly it. It's that feeling of being tossed around, where time kind of trips over itself and the days just blur into one another. This is the core problem that so many of us are struggling with.
So when we're faced with this churning sea, what do? Well, we try to fight back. And usually we fall into one of two camps. Two really common strategies that we use to try and force some kind of order onto all that chaos.
So on one side, you've got the planner. Maybe this is you. You try to wrestle time into submission with calendars, to-do lists, the whole shebang. But instead of feeling calm, your calendar just becomes this ticking time bomb of obligations. Then on the other side, you have the in-the-moment dreamer, the person who tries to give every single minute its full, mindful due. But let's be honest, that can often feel kind of squishy, uncertain, and just plain evasive. The bottom line? Neither approach really seems to work.
Okay, so if both of those popular approaches fail us, what's the alternative? What if the problem isn't our method, but the very unit of time we're trying to manage? And this brings us to a totally different philosophy. What if we started seeing a single day as the fundamental, manageable unit of our lives? The core idea here is to treat each day like one of those ocean waves. Think about it. Every 24-hour period has its own unique character, its own energy. You might surf it perfectly, feeling totally in the zone, or you might get absolutely pummeled by it. But here's the magic. Either way, after it passes, another one comes, offering a completely fresh start.
This quote about writing a novel, it just perfectly captures the power of this mindset. Tackling a huge goal can feel like you're driving cross-country in the dead of night. But you don't need to see the whole road at once. You just need to see as far as your headlights. And that's your single day. If you can handle that, you can actually make the entire journey.
This brings us from the why to the how. We're moving from philosophy to something really practical. The method is called time surfing, and it was actually developed by a Zen monk named Paul Lumens. He came up with it after realizing his own life, which was jam-packed with to-do lists, felt more like a frantic game of Tetris than a state of Zen.
And this is the big question, right? How do you actually surf the day's wave? It sounds amazing in theory, but what does it really look like in practice? Well, Lumen's method basically flips all the typical productivity advice on its head. The cycle is surprisingly simple. It works like this. First, you finish a task, any task. Then, and this is crucial, instead of immediately lunging for your list to see what's next, you take a breather. Go for a walk, do the dishes, just create some empty space. In that quiet moment, you just listen. Your intuition will tell you what wants to be done next, and then you embrace that task, and the whole cycle just repeats.
And here's the promised payoff of this whole method. When you stop trying to micromanage everything with your logical brain, and instead you hand the controls over to your intuition, a real, genuine sense of calm starts to bubble up. You start to trust that your inner guidance system actually won't forget anything important.
Okay, but I know exactly what you're thinking right now. If I only do what I'm in the mood for, I will literally never do my taxes or make that scary phone call, right? It's the most common objection for sure. And the answer is fascinating and completely counterintuitive. The technique isn't to force yourself, it's to get friendly with the task. What does that even mean? It means you take a moment to actually visualize doing that dreaded thing. You let yourself feel the anxiety, the nervousness, all of it.
You kind of snuggle up to it mentally, and then you consciously decide to set it aside for now.
Let's look at a real-world example of how this plays out. The author of the article we're drawing from was dreading making these really complex insurance calls for his mother. So, instead of scheduling them and forcing it, he used this method. He pictured making the calls, he let himself feel all that anxiety, and then he just let it go. A few days later, totally out of the blue, he just made some tea, and the right moment just arrived. He just felt ready. No list, no forcing it, his intuition just took over when the time was right.
You see, this approach doesn't just change how we handle our tasks. It has a much, much deeper implication. It can actually change how we experience the day itself. It helps us see that a day is so much more than just an empty container for a to-do list.
Because a day already has its own built-in structure, right? You've got the natural rhythms, dawn, darkness, when you're alert, when you're sleepy. You've got the human patterns, traffic, mealtimes, working hours. And then, woven all throughout that, are these random, unexpected moments of beauty or real significance. When you look at it that way, every single day has its own narrative arc. It's like a complete miniature life.
It's like the writer Annie Dillard put it. Every day we wake up is full of mystery and significance if we're actually open to seeing it. It's not just about getting things done, it's about experiencing the unique story of that particular day. All right, so we've gone on quite a journey here. We started in that churning sea of modern time, and we've landed on this idea of seeing each day as its own distinct wave. We've even learned a practical, intuitive way to actually surf it.
And this whole idea is just perfectly summed up by the philosopher Arthur Schopenhauer. He saw each day as a little life cycle in miniature. He said waking up is a little birth, the morning is a little youth, and going to sleep is a little death. I mean, wow. That is an incredible amount of energy and perspective, and it's given to us fresh every single 24 hours.
And that really just leaves us with one final thought. There is a new day, a brand new 24-hour wave, already on its way. It's coming. So the only question left is, how are you going to ride it?